Heidi, may we do the roll call, please?
Thank you. Trustee Adams?
Here.
Trustee Johnston?
Here.
Trustee Carbowiak?
Here.
Trustee Smith?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Heidi. We have a relatively short agenda, so I'm hopeful that we can work through this within the time frame allotted. The first item on the agenda is remarks by President McPhee.
And this is a short meeting, so I'll say thank you for being here, and that's my remarks for today.
Thank you, President McPhee. You'll note from the agenda that we have 2 action items and 2 items for information purposes, along with an executive session. So let's move to the first action item, which is approval of the minutes. At this meeting, we will be reviewing and approving the meeting minutes from the November 29 meeting, as well as the March 13th meeting. The reason for that is that at the March 13th meeting, we did not have a quorum. So that meeting consisted of information sharing solely, and we were not able to approve the minutes. So that said, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Objections? Abstentions? Approved. Thank you. Moving next to the item behind tab 2. These are follow-up items from prior meetings. And that is going to be presented by Heidi, I believe.
Actually, Brenda is going to lead that.
Okay.
I'm going to be her lifeline.
She's my lifeline, my
Okay.
backup.
Very good.
The follow-up items to be presented at the March 13th committee meeting, Ms. Janae Stevens gave a summary report of work performed by the Conflict of Interest Committee. And on behalf of Janae, I'm supposed to extend an apology. She could not be here. When we changed the date of the meeting, it created a scheduling conflict for her because she's out for training. So that had already been paid and arrangements made. So she's attending her professional development training. So at that meeting, the board chairman Smith requested a signed report of activity of the Conflict of Interest Committee. So on page 13, you'll see our report that was prepared. As a committee, we're an advisory group that reports to the president's office. So we decided that probably our report should first go to the president for his information, and then we would present it to the committee. And since the committee evaluates the conflict of interest disclosures, and we determine whether the conflict exists, and then for any conflict that's not a violation of federal or state law, then we're permitted to make the following determinations: that whether the conflict is de minimis and permitted to continue, the conflict should be managed, or that the conflict should be eliminated. So the report shows you the type of disclosures that were reviewed and the conclusions that were made.
So, Brenda, just a question on when you say the conflict is eliminated, what does that mean?
In the case here, there was a financial business interest, and because the individual had received some funding, but it was going to be, the request was going to be made that would be paid for their company, then we could not be making payments to their company. So we had to, return the funding and eliminate the association with that
Okay, so that means
business.
the conflict is, they stop doing the behaviors or the actions
Yes.
that are the result of the conflict.
And sort of depending on what the conflict we're looking at, the determination on what needs to be eliminated. So in this case, part of it was we returned the funding because we could no longer fulfill the purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any conflicts reported by a third party? How were you,
No.
how did you come up with, all of these, were they turned in?
Yes, these were all self-disclosed.
I have another one, but I'll save for executive session.
Okay.
on this.
All right.
This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. I think somebody has to own it, and you guys have, and that's exactly what I hoped for.
And then we made the decisions that we would all sign it since we were all in
That's
this
good.
together.
That's better. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Brenda? Okay.
And then the other part of that discussion involved third-party reporting, was there a statement or was it addressed on the audit webpage? So we included that information, that in the listing of what should be reported, it does indicate pursuit of a benefit or advantage in violation of the university conflict of interest policy. So on the webpage in our fraud awareness brochure, it is mentioned that if you know of a conflict of interest, that the university should be aware of to report it. And then also, Ms. Stevens wanted us to update you on it. She made the statement in the last meeting, the conflict of interest policy she thought was owned by her office, but that policy is actually the responsibility of the Office of University Counsel. So they're the ones that manages updates.
Which makes perfect sense. Any other comments, questions for Brenda? Thanks, Brenda. Appreciate it very much. Next item on the agenda behind tab 3 is an item for approval with respect to review of policy 100, the use of campus property and facility scheduling. Heidi?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is actually a revision of a policy that you all have already approved, and the revisions emanate mainly from passage of a state statute, the Campus Free Speech Protection Act. By statute, we are required to have a policy in place. What we determined was that we could incorporate the statutory requirements in a pre-existing policy, our policy on campus use. And so in addition to some, minor sort of editorial or formatting changes, we've added the provisions from the statute into our policy. And those changes are reflected in the red line version.
Are there any questions or comments for Heidi? So basically, Heidi, this is in response to the legislation that was passed. So
Yes.
we are now in compliance with that legislation by virtue of these changes.
Yes.
Any comments, questions? If not, may I have a motion to approve the revisions to this policy?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
The way, might I have one?
Yes.
The way I read it, there has to be the president or his designee in the final version decides if Tennis of America can have a banquet on campus or a rally. It's the president or the president's designee where the buck stops. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's good. Somebody's got to do it.
And the policy is fairly detailed, I think, in terms of both the process and the provisions under which the campus property can be utilized or not.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, let's move to the vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Negative? Policy is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is behind tab 4, and it is a report out on quarterly audits. Brenda Burkhardt again, and it's also current status of the internal audit plan for this fiscal year.
Yes, behind this tab is the status of the internal audit plan. We have 3 projects that we had the reports in a draft format, but we didn't get them finalized before the committee meeting. And so this is the status of our audits that are in progress for your information.
Okay, any questions about the presentation? If not, Brenda, thank you very much. With that, are there any other items of business before this committee before we adjourn to executive session, to non-public executive session? If not, thank you very much, and I'd ask the members of the committee to stay in the room and all other participants, please, to exit. Thank you.